Ain't no timeouts in the podcast. Ain't no timeouts. Here we go, fellas. It's time for Pop Culture Pastor Podcast.
Hey, what up? This is Zach Guilford from Midnight Mass, and you're listening to one of my favorite podcasts, Pop Culture Pastor.
Pop Culture Pastor.
What
Noise.
What? Are we coming up with catchphrases? Is that what we're doing? Or
Evidently, I don't know.
I mean, I think Noise is taken. Come up with our own catchphrases.
Jake Peralta is a hero of mine, so
I mean, obviously,
yeah.
I don't know. It's and have we thought sufficiently about today's main topic of what movies we think could be remade into good streaming series?
Yes. Oh, I got a list.
Yeah, and let's go to our guest. Justin John's here. Justin John.
Hey, how are we doing tonight, guys? It's good to be here.
Yeah,
good to be here.
Also, has been a youth pastor in the past.
Yes.
Not currently. So if
currently.
you would like to send any youth pastor jobs to Justin John, you could send us a message at Pop Culture Pastor at Twitter.
I'm right
and
here.
Hook up a boy.
Not scared. Right here.
The youth pastor jobs.
All the jobs. Every ounce.
Currently working in physical rehabilitation.
Yes, sir. I'm a pretty good physical therapy office assistant. I do hard work. I work with home health and insurance and all the things I never thought I'd touch. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, this is Pop Culture Pastor. It's pretty simple. The main subject that we're going to get to later is something we already mentioned. We're going to talk about what movies we think could be remade into awesome streaming series.
Yes.
They have to be standalone movies. Not that they couldn't have sequels, but it works better if they're standalone movies. So like you can't come in here and be like, Harry Potter and the Pop Culture Stone, like no, they already made a series of movies on that and another series in progress. So like making a streaming series, like of course that would work.
It would.
And no Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Like Cody came in here before you got here, Justin. He was like, "Oh, any superhero movie?" Like, no,
It really could though.
yeah, but they do that already.
Well,
they make literal MCU TV shows.
Well, I'm just saying, graphic novels, movies are usually based off the novels.
It's not the heart of the question. You know what I'm talking about. Don't do this now.
Stay in your lane, Cody.
Not here, not now.
I'm just saying that literally it could be an awesome series as well.
Okay. But don't ever bring it up again. There's no timeouts in podcasting. Okay, we start off with news. We're just gonna rapid fire some pop culture news, the news of the week. This is episode number 3. Thank you all. Little shout out to everyone listening. Thank you all to listening.
Oh yeah,
We're growing in popularity. It's kind of weird.
It's
really
awesome.
Zach Guilford from Midnight Mass recorded a little liner where he lied about us being his favorite podcast.
That was nice.
Yeah.
Or it could be just like, precursor. Like he knows it's going to be and it will be.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's a potential.
he offered to do an interview and like, I'm going to stalk him and badger him. Well, okay. If you're the Hollywood Police Department or wherever, Zach Guilford lives, I'm not literally calm down.
It's going to be okay.
I'm not literally going to stalk him, but as far as you know. All right, let's get to some news here on Pop Culture Pastor. Buzz Lightyear trailer came out this week, and what are you guys' thoughts about that? The trailer comes out, Pixar movie.
I think it sounds fantastic. I personally am a sucker for prequels and finding out origin stories. And not only does the animation look better on Lightyear, like it looks a little cleaner, a little more edgy. The storyline looks exciting.
So he's a real dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So like what you're getting here is like kind of a weird meta, like, oh, here's the real Buzz Lightyear that's the toy is based on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of
so it's
interesting.
like the figure that the figurine is made after is what we're going for here.
Like, will they have Like, if this movie doesn't end with him holding a toy of himself with Tim Allen's voice, though, they missed a real opportunity. Is Tim Allen too hot to touch now? Is he too Republican?
No, Pixar and Disney are still about that money.
But they went from conservative honk Tim Allen to liberal honk Chris Evans.
They
right.
did.
Like, they went like from one end of the spectrum to the other.
I kind of
politically
wondered, like, is that the closest to Tim Allen, like voice wise, that we get?
Oh no,
That's an interesting thought.
no, I don't think so. They could have gotten closer, but they like you're not
Well,
turning,
with the
you're
name.
not turning down Chris Evans.
Well, I'm
No,
saying with a name though.
I feel like there'd be a closer Tim Allen voice out there. What about the dude that played Ron Swanson?
Oh,
Because Tim Allen's got a deep voice. Huh?
yeah, Nick
Now I just
Offerman.
want to watch
We
Home
just
Improvement.
got copyright checked because of that.
Nick Offerman.
Someone's making that Home Improvement money still. And
Yes,
What's
somewhere.
Probably
what's
not
the name
Tim
of the
Allen.
guy? Off of Emperor's New Groove that does Kronk. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
not okay. So David Spade was in that movie.
Yeah,
right?
David Spade,
was the
but
voice of the Emperor.
Cusco.
the guy that was Brock Sampson in Venture Brothers.
you gonna make is his name Cusco?
His name's Kronk.
Yeah, his name's Kronk.
Emperor's
And now we're looking it up. He
Kronk with a K.
he dated Elaine on Seinfeld.
Yes.
Oh, Patrick Warburton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the slowest Google ever, by the way. I'm sitting here pecking on the type. I am not a typer.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Patrick Warburton was the voice of Kronk. You know what?
It could have worked.
Yeah, he's got some Tim Allen. He could be Buzz Lightyear.
That's an expensive
Here-
voice actor, though.
Okay, but look at this. I'm looking at what he's known for voicing. He's a voice actor known for voicing Brock Sampson in the Venture Brothers.
That's a great show, by the way.
You nailed it.
Buzz Lightyear in Buzz Lightyear of Star Command.
Oh,
they did. They knew it.
Are you serious? I didn't
You
even
nailed
know
it.
that.
You guys nailed it.
Way to go, us. Air five.
Joe Swanson in Family Guy, Kronk in Emperor's
Holy
New Groove,
cow.
and Sheriff Bronson Stone in Scooby Doo. Wow, you guys were all over that.
We were.
So yeah, he would work, I think, but you're not selling more tickets with Patrick Warburton.
You're
No,
not.
You are with Chris Evans.
The name says it all right there.
What seriously though, how crazy is that to think about? That there are people out there that will go see this movie with no interest probably in Buzz Lightyear just because Chris Evans is voicing it. Like, is it weird to think that there's people out there like that are such Chris Evans fans? They're Chris Evans stans, as the kids would say.
Yeah, I mean, go back to Rango. People went and watched that just because Johnny Depp voiced Rango.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
I really didn't like that movie very much.
Other cartoons, let's say Buzz Lightyear is not Pixar. It's just a regular cartoon, and it's not what other cartoons out there were just a gimmick voice actor hire? Rango's got to be up there.
Rango's
yeah.
definitely there.
Because was that good? I feel like that wasn't good.
So, like, the best part was the narrator was Timothy Oliphant. That was the best part.
Oh yeah, okay. He's got a nice voice.
He does.
What about the Woody Allen Bug movie? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, so there was Bug's Life and Ants. And
Right.
they both came out at the same time, and one of them's the Woody Allen movie.
Is it sad I don't know which one is which?
and they were trying to beat the other one to the punch.
The B movie. The
Oh,
Bee, where
Jerry Seinfeld, yeah.
Seinfeld.
was the bee, and that was
Yeah.
like the whole gimmick was that the bee was like basically Jerry Seinfeld.
Patrick
except he was a bee.
Warburton was the boyfriend in that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
So
Well, Seinfeld's gonna hook up a bro.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Yeah.
because he was
Hands
he was
down.
putty.
I'm like
was.
obsessed with him now. I'm like, all right, let's find everything he's ever been.
Patrick Warburton.
everything he's ever been.
So yeah, Buzz Lightyear. I'm down.
I'm excited
I'm
for
gonna
it.
see that. Pixar's so good.
yeah.
Like, I mean, anything they put out, I'm like, okay, kids. I know my kids will want to go see it. What
Yeah.
was what was the most recent one? Was that the Luca one or was it Soul?
I think Luca.
I think Luca.
Pixar did Luca.
Yeah.
And Luca wasn't bad.
Not bad. It was great.
I really liked the storyline. Like, it made me want to piece the story together as it was happening. You know, I still have like a few like theories about that movie that I don't know are actual truths about the movie, but just what I think.
I like it.
Happened.
I'm looking it up just to make sure it's Pixar.
Like, you know how you saw it, right?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
Like, I know it.
Okay.
And I've had like a ton of kids talk to me about it.
I always thought that like when he was saying Silencio Bruno,
It is.
he was like his inner self, but at the same time it was also like his father telling him he couldn't do things.
Yeah.
And I was like, what if his father's name was Bruno? But Luca's just like, okay, yeah, I'll say Bruno. and the other kid's like, it's my dad. But Luca's like, yeah, okay, Bruno's his name.
I wouldn't put it past Pixar. Pixar,
That kind of feels right to me.
And I cried during Luca, man. I cried.
Okay, so Pixar has been known to make me cry.
Look, the first 8 minutes of Up
Up?
are the best romantic movie story ever ever put to film.
So heartbreaking.
It is. Like all these crappy Hallmark Christmas romance movies. And it's like, you don't need that. Just go watch the first 8 minutes of Up.
End of Toy Story 3 when they're on the conveyor belt. I'm
Yep.
like, oh, you got me in the feels again.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I feel like that's what made the fourth one so brutal. Is like you pushed us to the edge in the third.
Yeah.
How dare you? Where do you get off?
Let's move on to our next news item as we get into a little bit of okay, this is weird. This is a deeper subject.
Oh.
So recently, and I saw this come out a little while back, but I wanted to talk about it because it's recently been talked about again. He's been in and out of the news kind of, but there's this guy named Ed Brubaker, who is a writer back in the day for Marvel comic books. And he's actually the guy that created the Winter Soldier. So he created the Winter Soldier, and he did this interview back for Variety. It's back in March, I think, but it just kind of recently exploded. And they asked him, are you going to watch the Falcon and Winter Soldier series? And he said he had mixed feelings about the show and his role as a character creator. And he said this, quote, everyone at Marvel Studios that I've ever met, all the way up to Kevin Feige, have been nothing but kind to me. But at the same time, for the most part, all Steve Epting, who I believe was the artist that he worked with, all Steve Epting and I have gotten for creating the Winter Soldier and his storyline is a thanks here or there. And over the years, that's become harder and harder to live with, he explained in his newsletter. So, and this is not an isolated incident now.
No.
You're hearing other writers, other content creators from Marvel. And so like,
This is a lesson that Marvel should have learned a long time ago from DC.
yeah, here's the part that's tough. The part that's tough is when they went, like, so when he created the Winter Soldier, like, look, okay, let's start with the whole Infinity Saga.
Okay.
This story was concocted in the 90s.
Mhm.
That's when the Infinity Gauntlet kind of story comes out. I think it's early 90s. And at that time, Marvel Comics is struggling, man. Like, and it just gets worse and worse as you go into the 90s, where finally Marvel declares bankruptcy at one point.
Wow.
That's why Sony owned Spider-Man and Fox owned the X-Men, because they started selling off properties.
I was not aware of that.
And so working for Marvel comic books at that time, like, I think the Winter Soldier is probably created in the early aughts, but excuse me, still very much struggling. And so on one end, like, I know that they probably signed these contracts that said, hey, everything you create is IP of Marvel Comics, which intellectual property. So this is all about intellectual property. Who gets credit for the intellectual property? Who gets this? But then, like, now they're telling these stories that are like, listen, you would think people who aren't familiar with comics would probably just think, oh, these stories, they just came up with these stories and made these movies in the last 10 years. No,
False.
all of these stories are probably at least 25 years older, some of them older, and the stories they're borrowing from now, they're updating them, they're tweaking them here and there. But for the most part, these stories are stories created. They are literally the intellectual creations, the property of these dudes who worked with Marvel Comics 20, 30 years ago. And so, like, on one hand, I can say, like, man, you signed contracts. But then on the other hand, like, Marvel, would you even be able to make these movies now if it wasn't for these dudes who kept you afloat back in the 90s? And now you're making billions of dollars.
I was going to say, literally, the box office sales alone, you're not even getting to merchandising.
Right.
They're making buku bucks. How hard is it to cut, like, these guys? Oh, here's $1 million check.
Right. Like, now they're playing with so much money. My feeling is like, dude, just pay them. Give them some money. Because I don't think, here's the thing, is this interview isn't all that bad with Brubaker. I mean, he's not, like, taking them to task. So, like, clearly this dude's not trying to get you he's not trying to gouge you.
Yeah.
But, man, throw the dude $500,000.
But literally, this isn't uncommon within the comic book world. The co-creator of Batman wasn't even acknowledged for like 70 years. And then finally they're like, oh, there was this guy named Bill Finger and he helped make Batman.
Yeah.
And like his family,
by the way,
like did not see a penny until like after this guy's dead. And
this was the first guy to draw his parents being murdered.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I don't know that.
But I mean, literally, this is a common theme throughout like the creative process of comic books turning into movies. Like these people who come up with the stories, come up with the concepts of the characters aren't getting their dues. And so I feel for this guy, and especially since Marvel's owned by Disney and Disney has all the monies. Pay the man.
Okay. Oh, and so this is what makes it more complicated, because I think Kevin Feige has said some things that would lead you to believe that he'd be like, yeah, pay them, give them what they deserve. But this isn't his money; it's Disney, and Disney does not have a great track record with its people.
Oh no. The Lion Sleeps Tonight, that song. They got in a huge lawsuit with the family that like originally wrote it in South Africa.
A Wemowa?
Yeah.
A Mube?
Yeah.
A Mube?
And
I don't know how to
they
say that second word.
Like took them to town and like gave them a small sum.
Wow.
And it ended like real quick, and the family was like very devastated once they learned like, oh, they're still using this on Broadway and they're still making this movie and putting this song out and stealing our father's legacy. So
Disney's like the evil corporation now. It's so weird to think about, because like when I was a kid, Disney was like for kids, man, and it was like it's hard to explain, but they would have like every Sunday night would be the Disney movie on regular TV. You know, we didn't have cable back then. It was just
ABC
free
would do
networks.
It.
Yeah. And so I remember watching the Disney movie, whatever it happened to be, each
Lion
week.
King, Aladdin.
Disney just enjoyed a place in pop culture that was so different, and now they're like the big evil. They're president. What's the dude's name in the Lego movie? Will Ferrell.
Oh, Business.
President Business.
Yeah.
Disney is literally President Business from the Lego movie now.
If you watch on Netflix, there's a documentary called The Lion Sleeps Tonight about that song and about Disney not paying.
I will say this, as a person who was not a comic book head, growing up, I didn't have a lot of comic books. I didn't study, like the Marvel universe or anything. But as a fan who watches all the movies and, how Disney Plus and, Star Wars and Marvel and everything are just absolutely killing it right now with the series and everything.
Amazing.
It's unbelievable. And on top of that, I really didn't see the Winter Soldier being this heavily used, through the movies and then through like a series. So I think there's a valid point with this guy. Like,
so there's an argument there that, well, Winter Soldier's not the focal point, but you literally named a movie after him. So Captain America Winter Soldier, and probably one of their best movies.
yeah.
Like that's pretty much agreed across fandom that Captain America Winter Soldier is probably a top 5, maybe even top 3 MCU movie. And he was a huge factor in that movie. And then you went ahead and put him in a series with his own name in it. So I feel like, and he's got to be, he's in their future plans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People like that actor. They like that character.
I was going to say, I think Sebastian Stan has been in all the phases for the Marvel universe.
He's clearly going to be in that next Captain America movie with Sam.
Mm-hmm.
There's rumors he's going to be in this Thunderbolts movie. That he's going to be a member of the Thunderbolts, which, we don't have time to go through that. But
Now,
clearly Winter Soldier is still going to be around.
Now, at what point was he? Oh, in Wakanda, they talked about him being a white wolf.
I don't.
I mean, is there any?
We don't really know that yet. That's a creation completely of the movies.
Okay.
As far as I know, I don't think
I'm not
there's any
familiar enough.
comic book equivalent to that. So, I mean, literally in the comics, he was Bucky from the World War II, but Bucky died in World War II. And then they, like Brubaker, was his idea, man. They just brought him back as this Russian assassin.
As one does.
Yeah, naturally. But yeah, I think to end up that topic, I think they really need to probably, Marvel's going to have to figure this out sooner or later. It's not as much of a problem with DC, but Marvel's really got to figure it out to be just like, hey man, throw these creators, these writers, and these illustrators $500,000. I bet most of them would be like thrilled with that. Some of them might be like, nah, you're making billions. Some people are locked on money, but I mean, $500,000 for most people is, even comic book people, I'm sure, is pretty life changing.
Yeah, invite them to the premieres.
Yeah.
Have their name in the credits.
Give them all the swag.
Yes.
Every piece of, it wasn't Brubaker, but it was another one who'd created a character. Man, they just sent him all, and the dude was pretty happy, but he said, it would have been nice to get more money, but he had all the swag.
Be legit.
Yeah.
They can send me some swag and I would take back any comments I just said.
Is it not surprising how satisfied you can be with so little? You're like, what do these guys need, man? Send me like a t-shirt.
Let's move on to the situation in New Mexico with the film Rust. Here a couple weeks ago, and this is still all over the news. A couple weeks ago, a cinematographer was shot and killed on the set, and the director was seriously hurt, I think. When Alec Baldwin, in the middle of I assume they were filming.
I think it was actually rehearsal.
Was rehearsal?
They might have been trying to get like cameras and things in place.
Yeah, and so these people were tragically shot, and of course, now it's everything that happens ends up sometimes. It eventually ends up in the political sphere, which I just hate. Like, because Alec Baldwin has been so outspoken in political things, like, you got conservative people jumping all over him. Like clearly this is not his fault. And in fact, just this article out today at the day we're recording this, the CNN, I guess there was some calls to say it was the assistant director's fault. They're still trying to figure out where the blame lies. So today on CNN, the day we're recording this, David Hall's an assistant director on the set of the film Rust. I guess he was getting some flack. But an attorney representing him today said it was not his responsibility to confirm whether the gun handed to Alec Baldwin was loaded, despite Hall's previously acknowledging to investigators that he should have checked all the rounds. So he said that in an interview with the investigators, because like everyone on that set probably thought that, though. It's like, I could have checked him.
Yeah.
Because they're mourning, they're grieving someone that was close to them. But the attorney said, yeah, it's not really asking an assistant director to check a firearm would be like telling him to check the camera angle or sound or lighting. They're just not his responsibility.
Yeah, that's a legit statement. I mean, who thought there was a live round in a prop gun?
Well, okay. So there seems to be some question about why there were live rounds there at all. Apparently there was target practice happening during off hours.
I mean, I had heard that there was kind of like some pretty cool, legit firearms that they were, messing with, and people were shooting in the vicinity, like within the filming area, probably away from there. But I did hear that there was some target practice. Like I read some articles.
And the person that was their weapons expert,
the armorer,
was
there you go. That's a cool name.
The daughter of like a marksman, like a sharpshooter that goes to competitions and stuff. And so, I mean, I'm not surprised there was target shooting on set, but at the same time, I'm surprised there's target shooting on set.
Yeah.
And reading what James Gunn said, he identified like 3 different areas that literally, if they would have followed typical protocols, nothing would have happened like this, such as having target shooting on set.
So James Gunn's been talking a lot about this on Twitter. He's been an interesting follow in all of this.
He has,
and he's had a lot of insight to share for those of us who are like, man, we don't know what goes on movie sets. But it appears the direction this is heading is it's going to land on the armorer. For this, the mistake is going to the legality of it. It seems like it's heading that direction, that it's going to land on her.
Say, wouldn't you say that in the sense of like, kind of as you were talking about, like, why would, a producer or a cinematographer or whoever else on stage, why would they be checking it? Like, would not the armorer be the one?
Here's what I'd like
to check
say.
The rounds.
Why? Why do we even have to have real guns? Like, here's what I don't understand. We've got CGI now where we can deep fake dudes up on the screen. Like, I saw Luke Skywalker walk into the Mandalorian from 30 years ago.
That was one of the best moments ever.
And like, I just don't understand, with all the technology we have, why do we even have, is there that much as a viewer, I'm willing to sacrifice that realism that I might not even notice anyways, so people don't die filming a stupid movie.
And I mean, literally, like, there's such a small niche in the market that's going to be like, that's not a real gun, or that's not this style of gun that was used during this time period. I mean, you're obsessing over minutia that could easily be CGI'd in. Have like a laser gun that they use in like laser tag. Have them hold that and call it good, or a Nerf gun. I'm cool with that.
I mean, the crazy thing is like, there's these gun groups out in Hollywood where like, oh no, you need it's very very uneducated for you to say that they don't need real guns. But like, come on. You're protecting your livelihood. I mean, we understand that, but at what point? I mean, it's make believe, it's pretend. I just don't understand it. I don't understand the concept of it. Like it makes sense to me that John Wayne was out there shooting real guns because it was 1950 whatever, and it was John freaking Wayne. It doesn't make any sense to me that in 2021. Alec Baldwin had a real gun in his hand with real ammunition on the set of a stinking movie.
I mean, just think about the differences between that time period, because like Charlton Heston in the movie Ben-Hur,
I like
so many animals died in the making of that movie. If an animal suffered any emotional distress in the movie now, they would stop filming immediately and lawsuits would be flying.
Yeah.
But we haven't adapted our gun policy since then. Come on.
Yeah. It's really weird to me. It's really weird. It's one of those things. Granted, I'm not around that life, but I love movies. Movies have been my favorite thing since as long as I can remember when I was a kid. There's something magical about movies, and I guess I just don't need that realism. I'm not one of those brains like you said. You know, I'm perfectly capable of enjoying the movie Armageddon, even though they're showing you shots from around the world where it's sunny. And it's like around the world, but it's sunny everywhere. Like I noticed
Nowhere it's night.
I noticed that it was clearly that it was clearly a mistake, but I don't really care because I'm not there. I'm not watching Michael Bay movies for total accuracy.
What?
Yeah.
Hold up.
Amazingly enough, right? And Independence Day, you know, there's a lot of movies that you're like, yeah, that wouldn't happen. Like, well, of course it wouldn't happen. It's a movie. And I don't need Alec Baldwin filming a old Western to be handling an actual, you know, a revolver from 1865. Like it just seems stupid.
It's a tragic story, and it's just kind of one of those things where you're like, Alec Baldwin shot it, a cinematographer died. You're just like, oh come on, like why does this have to happen? Why? Yeah. It's just a tragic thing. It stinks.
And it's not the first time this has happened, like with deaths on set because of weapon use that should be CGI'd.
Yeah.
I'll go back to Brandon Lee.
And the discussion, and James Gunn was right about this. He said something to this effect on Twitter like a week ago, where he said, and now we can't even have this discussion we should be having because it's going political and it's turning into this argument that's pointless. And anyways, it's tragic. Yeah, it's a terrible situation. But there you go. Yeah. I'm all in favor of like, don't ever use any, there should never be live rounds on a movie set again. Yeah. If you insist on using real guns, there should never, ever be live ammunition on a set ever again. Period.
Yeah, this should clearly define that there needs to be a separation.
Let's move on to early reviews of The Eternals. The Eternals, this is a headline from Insider.com. The Eternals is the latest movie with LGBTQ representation to be, quote, review bombed. Here's what's going on.
Review bombed.
The Eternals has received negative reviews on IMDb, despite it not being available to the public. This tactic called review bombing has been used by fans who dislike aspects of a movie or TV show. In a now deleted tweet, Eternal star Kumail Nanjiani said, looks like we're upsetting the right people. You know, we got into this in our first episode talking about woke culture and pop culture.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of how, okay, so let's be real. The Eternals has the lowest Rotten Tomatoes score as of now of any MCU movie. Period. That's a real thing. The Rotten Tomatoes score is made up of real critics who've seen the movie and clearly are not review bombing.
Yeah.
And none of this was an issue before that happened. Like the movie was available to critics. They watched it. A lot of them didn't like it for a lot of reasons, right? That it just doesn't work, that it's too much in a movie, like there's too much information. It's you know, it's like their Chloe Zhao maybe tried to make a movie that just doesn't sit right in the MCU and in the superhero movie world, right? Which, yeah.
Maybe if this movie came out when Thor 1 and Thor 2 came out, maybe it works. But like the whole artsy premise, that's not the direction the MCU's in right now.
Yeah. Yeah. All of that aside, none of this was a headline until those reviews started coming out. And everyone was like, oh, it's a Marvel movie that not everyone likes. Usually that's unheard of usually. And then this became the headline. These review bombs. Now, let me get this. Let's be real clear what this is. They're talking about like the public reviews on IMDb. Does anyone even look at those?
No. Like the only reason
I haven't searched that in a very long time.
The only reason I use IMDb is to see like what other things has this actor or actress been in. But now it pops up on like the Google page. Like as soon as you search it.
The primary reason is just seeing who's in a movie and then what else they do.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it.
And then on Rotten Tomatoes, it has the movie going public score.
But it also has a critic score.
But it's right next to the
Right.
critic score, and it's not unheard of for those to be pretty far apart sometimes. Usually it's in the sense of the critic score is low, and the movie-going people liked it because, Armageddon, right?
I was going to say...
Because some of us just like movies.
Any DC movie.
Well, I'm agreeing with the critics on that one, but...
Yeah, I'm saying that, like... Any DC movie's a good example of that because
Yes.
like the critic score is low,
Right.
the fan score is high, and then the public outcry is still bad.
Yeah.
I mean, you like what you like. I mean, like if you're a fan, you're a fan. I mean, nothing's going to change that despite.
Yeah.
Here's where I'm going with this. And this was, look, someone's going to label me like super Republican here. And that's not what I'm trying to say at all, because I'm all for representation. I said this in week 1 when we had the woke culture in pop culture discussion. I want my movies. I am totally fine with my movies looking like the world I see. Okay. But make it look like the world I see. Don't pander. The line between representation and pandering is if you make a movie with LGBT characters in it and it starts getting bad reviews, people don't like the movie, but then you start being like, oh, it's just getting review bombed. Like you're sticking up and trying to defend it in all these ways. It's like, listen, let the movie stand. Like if critics don't like it, it's not because they're all anti-LGBTQ. They're probably, most of them are pro.
I was going to say they wouldn't be reviewing many movies.
Yeah. It's the same concept I had with the problem when they put these characters and they're pandering and not going for representation. So we used Rey as an example in Star Wars. She has no flaws. Because to give her a flaw would be to invite yourself to these voices that are like, how dare you? Because she's a woman? Like, no, because she's human.
Right.
Like humans have flaws. That's universal. And so for some reason, right now, all we can do is put characters who are white males with flaws on the screen. Everyone else can't be flawed all of a sudden, or it's like an uproar.
Yeah.
But that's not real life.
Shocking. I know.
and this, all these headlines about this review bombing, it's like, who cares about these people? Are there dinks out there, hitting thumbs down and leaving stupid reviews when the movie's not out yet? Yeah. Of course there are, but that's not what's happening with the Rotten Tomatoes score, with critics not liking the movie. And by the way, we're going to review this for our next podcast. We're going to go see it. We'll review it, and we'll review it fairly.
Which, by the way, I will say my favorite version of kind of review bombing, it's not really review bombing, but it's like related, is like when they like upvote artists on like American Idol that shouldn't be getting votes. I love when they do that. And also one time they sent Pitbull to Anchorage, Alaska, because there was like this contest to like bring him to your city, and like Miami was leading. And then all of a sudden this troll group gets a hold of voting and they vote him to Anchorage, Alaska.
Side note, William Hung is on Cameo.
Oh my goodness.
So if you wanted to send a William Hung video where he sings She Bang by Ricky Martin, you could totally do that. I think it's like $20, like something super cheap.
Oh my Lanta. I might
like
have
that's
to do
way
this.
And it's so
cheap,
easy on
way
the
too
iPhone.
accessible.
You can just like,
So
you
accessible.
you use Apple Pay. Like, man, I was through to Zach Gilford. That all happened in like inside an hour.
Yeah.
Literally, like if I could get him singing that, and then get Ryan from The Office and the guy that plays Champ in Anchorman, because he was in The Office.
That's David Koechner.
Yes, thank you. If I could get David, then like I can recreate one of my favorite Office moments, but have some context with it.
She bangs.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so yeah, the Eternals is kind of a mess. The whole discussion around the Eternals right now is kind of a mess. I'm just looking forward to seeing the movie.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing the movie, and I feel like it doesn't matter to me. I'll be able to watch it as a Marvel superhero movie, and we'll tell you next week.
Currently sitting at 56% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
what you're saying.
wow.
But to be honest with you, I'm like Dave. I'm in for the magic of the movies. Like, if they ever closed the theater, I would just be bummed. I would be completely bummed.
First of all, the magic of the movie is the lamest thing I've ever heard you say.
You really don't feel that way?
No, I do, but you said it and it just sounded so commercial. Hey, okay.
Open for.
I wish I had the Kawhi laugh track right now.
Yeah, we need the Kawhi lab track for reals. Okay, next piece of news, and we'll stay with Marvel.
Sweet.
One more piece of Marvel news. Marvel is rumored to have cast Jim Carrey as the villainous MODOK for several Disney Plus shows, including the She-Hulk series that's upcoming, starring the lady from Orphan Black.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
I had not heard this yet.
I knew that he was rumored to be a villain in the MCU.
Tatiana Maslany is the actress's name, by the way.
Thank you.
Who's starring in She-Hulk. Also, Jamila Jamil from The Good Place
Yes.
is starring as a villain in the She-Hulk movie. And MODOK apparently in it. Now, MODOK, this was the weirdest news of the week. Weirdest pop culture news of the week. MODOK is like a giant head with like little arms and legs.
Kind of like a square head.
he's like a Tyrannosaurus Rex guy head.
Nice.
It's a very strange character.
Big head, little arms.
He's so strange they made like a comedic show on Hulu here recently.
Yeah,
a MODOK show where Patton Oswalt was the voice of MODOK.
Now that's I almost can see Jim Carrey more than I can see.
Yeah, so obviously in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's not going to be played for laughs, at least not a whole lot, I would think. Although with Jim Carrey, you'd think they would have to a little bit. But he's going to be a bad dude. Like MODOK in the comics is not good news.
Can we get Howard the Duck film back?
I mean, it seems like they're at least they're at least setting up a Marvel Plus series or a Disney Plus series for that, right? I mean, he's been in enough things now.
I would hope.
He just kind of shows up occasionally. And who's his voice? Seth Green?
I think so.
Been doing the voice of Howard. I mean, they're setting it up.
Wow.
They'll set it up. Although, if they're doing it like they should, and this is terrible because I'm a pastor. I can't believe I'm about to say this. But if they're doing it as they should, it really shouldn't be on Disney.
Yeah.
Because it should be like a rated R type show, but MCU doesn't really into that. But they're going to do it with Deadpool.
They're going to have to do it with Deadpool.
Oh my land.
Yeah.
That
Justin's beside himself. This is where the pastor part of us comes through. Because on every other podcast about Marvel stuff, everybody was like, "Oh, that sounds so awesome! I can't wait for that." And Justin's like, "Dude, I can't handle this."
So,
rated R, mature, M for mature.
Maybe they have Howard the Duck crossover with Deadpool.
Maybe,
because I mean, he brings in the most random characters. But that was also because they didn't own the rights to some of those.
I do want to say, as always, with any R-rated or M for mature rated material, the Spirit will convict.
It will.
I'm not going to tell you what to watch. That's not my job. I'm just a pastor. The Holy Spirit is the one who will tell you if you should or shouldn't be watching something. And it's probably different for folks. Some people can watch it and not be corrupted. Some people, probably need to stick to, the PJ Masks. Some people can't handle the hard stuff.
I was going to say after Logan, I didn't want to go out and cause a bunch of like earthquakes or claw up a bunch of people. Yeah. So
some Christians are into craft beers. Some Christians are like, you shouldn't ever drink.
It's such a diverse group, but yet we are labeled as like this oddly specific group.
Yeah.
Bad stereotyping, people.
Listen, every time someone out in the Twitterverse mentions evangelistical people, evangelicals.
There we go.
I was going to hit it eventually.
Third time's the charm.
I just cringe because you that this isn't going to be fair. You're right. We're actually quite diverse. And is there a small chunk of us that, really love the NRA and want to shoot a giraffe and think Donald Trump is like sent by Jesus. Sure. Those people are out there. I mean, they're nuts, but they're out there.
It's true.
And this is coming from someone who is, I'm a conservative leaning moderate, probably.
Mhm.
I have probably more conservative values than I do liberal values. But I can tell you, yeah, those people are out there, but it's not them. You go on Twitter and you'd think that that's all Christians are in middle America. And it's just not true.
Yeah.
It's simply not the case. We live in the most, we've said this before in our radio show, Cody. We live in one of the most conservative states in the United States, in one of the most conservative areas of that state, of a red state. And I would bet there's less than 10% in people in my church, which is one of the most conservative in our town, that are like full on QAnoners. Less than 10%.
Mm-hmm.
So don't believe what you read on Twitter about like all middle America Christians being, QAnoners, Donald Trumpers. Like a lot of them did vote for Donald Trump, but that's because you only get two choices. Hey, what do you want?
Right in Dan Marino. That's the correct answer.
Speaking of Dan Marino, Ace Ventura.
Yes.
Back to Jim Carrey.
Exactly.
Could we say that like with his with his repertoire, his experience in playing, certain villains, certain places, there's like zero concern of the excellence that will be brought to even like evilish humor, comedy. I mean, his striking way of doing such things.
So here, let me read you the part of this article here. According to the leaker, the person who leaked this information,
how dare they?
Jim Carrey has already been cast as MODOK and could appear as early as the series She-Hulk. The series has been described as a sitcom, likely based on Jennifer Walters, that's She-Hulk's alter ego, more humorous runs in the comics. As such, Carrey arriving as a notoriously hard-to-adapt villain could make a good fit. The leaker also said MODOK could appear in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, though that seems less certain. So there you go. It's apparently She-Hulk's going to be kind of on the funny side.
If it was on the serious side, I wouldn't have any doubts about Jim Carrey. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. He was phenomenal.
Yeah. Well,
he was phenomenal.
Oh no, I wasn't going to argue with you.
Well, good. Because I was going to say he was phenomenal.
I mean, the movie was a little pretentious, but okay. If that's your bag.
It has 3 MCU people in it, or 3 Marvel people in it.
Well, what does that matter?
I'm just saying that movie launched.
I mean, the
Marvel
remains
careers.
of the day could have 3 people from the MCU movies in it too. I'm still not going to watch it.
Oh my goodness!
I mean,
I don't care.
You guys saw the new Sonic the Hedgehog movie, right?
No.
No. Okay, so Jim Carrey plays.
Who do you think we are?
I have children.
So do I. But
And maybe
even
you will. But
Adam Sandler loved it. I know that.
Well,
Did he really?
Yeah.
Jim Carrey as Dr. Eggman was surprisingly evil and surprisingly comedic, all while being very self-pretentious all at the same time. And it just really worked.
I was going to say, if you go back to my unsaved days, me, myself, and Irene.
Yeah.
Cable
guy
also. Yeah. He could pull it off.
Oh, yeah. Well, Cable Guy. I think Cable Guy's brilliant.
It is brilliant.
It's a weird movie, and not a lot of people remember it, but I thought Cable Guy was a brilliant movie. If MODOK does feature on She-Hulk, he will not be the big bad. That will be Jamila Jamil's Titania. She'll be the main villain of the show. So
Gotcha.
MODOK will just be someone that appears, and there you go.
It'll work.
Yeah.
There were also rumors that Peter Dinklage was set to play MODOK in Avengers Infinity War before it was revealed that he was playing Aitri.
I was going to say, he was not.
Yeah. Yeah, he was not MODOK in
And that
Infinity
did
War.
not happen.
MODOK in Infinity War would have been weird.
Yeah.
That would have been strange.
I do think the way they could have it makes sense that they're going to go funny with this. She-Hulk as a serious character is problematic, in my opinion. I mean, it just doesn't lend itself to being super serious. I mean, it's just weird. it's just a weird concept. And that's why they went funny with her in the comics, because nobody really cared about She-Hulk as a serious character. She was in the Fantastic Four for a little while. Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
I don't
Worst
think I was aware of
run on the Fantastic Four ever. Bar none. That was like mid to late 80s.
that. I mean, oh gosh, I really wish those movies would have been better.
The Thing went off to be a pro wrestler,
Well,
Oh, okay.
and She-Hulk joined the Fantastic Four, and it was weird.
that's a smart move by the Thing.
Everybody was like, this is weird. Why is she there?
He's just in like underground wrestling with Macaulay Culkin, randomly like causing things to happen.
Okay, let's get to our big topic, but let's take a break first. We need a musical interlude. That's what we need from our guy, Matt. So we'll let Matt play a little musical interlude. We'll be right back. Okay, so we're back on the Pop Culture Podcast. Going into our main topic here, we're nearly an hour in. So we're going to have another 25 minute discussion here, probably.
Okay.
Maybe it'll be quicker. I don't know.
It could be longer. You don't know.
The point,
There's a lot of news.
the point of the discussion tonight is going to be, we wanted to think of movies, one movie, preferably not a series, but one movie that could be made into a streaming series, an amazing streaming series. Now, to me, the easy ones are movies like The Dark Tower,
Okay. Yeah.
that were these wide, sprawling epics in print. And when they
Were
made the
crammed
movie,
into one.
crammed into one movie with completely wasting Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey, who were perfect for their
Yes.
roles. Like, they were the best part about that movie, just them as those characters. And then that movie was so disappointing. But that movie should have been like a Netflix series, Amazon. It doesn't even matter.
HBO.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
But that would have been an amazing series, The Dark Tower. So something like that is what we're talking about. A movie that would have made a great series. Do I need to go first? Do you want to go first?
Before we start, I
Okay.
do want to say, like, if we were to remake a series of movies,
No.
I would say The Hunger Games, like the first book / movie.
But it's all,
Okay, so forget that they made like the second, third, and fourth whatever movies.
I don't even know how many they made.
If they
Those are
just
good movies.
if they just made the first one, they should have made it into a series, because literally it is like Bear Grylls meets Apocalypse Now in the book. And you don't get that at all in the movie.
When we're 100 years out from those, by the way, we're going to look back and wonder why we went through this weird teenage apocalyptic phase.
Why every like kids have to be the heroes to uprise.
The Hunger Games, The Maze Runner. What was the other one? The one with the redheaded girl that's marrying Aaron
Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers.
Divergent.
Or Divergent.
Divergent.
Yeah.
Was
Oh, and they're all
Shailene
terrible. The Hunger Games is okay. It's fine.
I like the Hunger Games.
Literally, they could have made the first book
Yeah.
into like
They're-
multiple movies
they're
or
fine.
a
True.
series.
Jennifer Lawrence is fine. Well, that was weird. That's not what I.
Fine, or
Why'd you guys look at me like that? That's not what I meant.
I mean, it came off like that, even though I knew that wasn't it.
Yeah, I was joking around.
Attaway.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, but yeah. So I mean, there's
They literally made
there's a lot
of movies on those.
series of movies
You're-
that could be made into better TV
You're saying
series.
you wish the Hunger Games would have been longer and more drawn out.
As like to get more details, yes.
Okay.
Maybe not in movie
I mean,
form,
look,
series form.
Earlier when we were having
Lord of the Rings would be perfect.
This is my time. This is my time. You're out of order. But earlier today, we were having a preliminary discussion, and he said "Lord of the Rings," and I about threw something. At
Ooh.
him. I'm like, yeah,
That's huge.
they've only made 6 movies that average like 3 hours and 45 minutes a movie.
But yet, if you talk to the people that read the books, they're like, "Oh my goodness, they rushed it."
Oh
and it's
my
like,
gosh.
did
Listen,
you watch the director's
listen,
cuts of these?
I am the biggest nerd there is. Lord of the Rings are my favorite books ever. But if I have to hear one more person say, "I can't believe Tom Bombadil wasn't in the movies," like, yeah, because the Tom Bombadil section was stinking weird and had nothing to do with the story.
They just have a mini series called The Shire, and it's just going through every character in the Shire.
Tolkien had a rough day one day and got, tripped over and hit his head on something. They gave him morphine, and he wrote the whole Tom Bombadil section. Oh my goodness!
Rough day in the trenches. Oh my goodness.
So, he brought up Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
I was like, that ain't
so Hunger Games, Lord of the Rings, Dark Tower, like series that should.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. All right.
Okay.
I'm going to start it for real.
Yes,
Are we ready to start for real?
Yes, please.
Okay. My first selection is the we should probably be giving information because not everyone listening is going to know exactly what we're talking about here. If I go into the 80s, right?
Oh yeah. Okay, you're going way back.
Oh, of course, man.
So
the older something is, the better, the more ripe it is for the more ripe it is for a remake. Right?
I have some from like the 90s and early aughts.
I'm going to go with the 1984 movie that sparked. This is the reason for the PG-13 rating.
Oh,
Red Dawn, starring Patrick Swayze, Jennifer Grey, Charlie Sheen, C. Thomas Howell, a lot of Leah Thompson, a lot of who's from the 80s in this movie.
Yes.
In an alternate 1980s, the United States stands alone as communism grows stronger. Oh man, I love all this already. It's giving me goosebumps. When Soviet soldiers invade a small Colorado town, for what reason? I have no idea. It's not important. When Soviet soldiers invade a small Colorado town, brothers Jed and Matt Eckert, Patrick Swayze and Charlie Sheen, escape with friends to the forest.
They don't look like brothers, but they played brothers multiple times.
That's right. While their father, Tom, Harry Dean Stanton, a prisoner of the invading army, the children decide to fight against the Soviets as the country comes under increasing attack. They team up with Lieutenant Colonel Andrew Tanner, played by Powers Booth, to take back their town. Directed by John Milius, came out August 10th, 1984. I believe that because this movie spans a long time.
It does.
So they're in hiding and become like this guerrilla warfare unit called the Wolverines, and seasons literally pass. So like summer, winter, fall. And I think the intrigue of it all would have made a great Netflix series. Fighting against the commies.
You definitely could have spanned that over time.
I think that the 80s version, yes.
Oh, yeah. We don't talk about the other one. The other one's terrible. But yeah, look, I remember being in school and looking out the window of my classroom and just, what if I saw a paratrooper drop right there, just like Red Dawn? What would I do?
Hopefully go all Patrick Swayze.
You don't live in Colorado, which kind of stinks. I'm like, I would take to the plains, hide behind some grass,
say, yeah, not
and then
Colorado.
get shot.
Kansas Plains.
Yeah. So that's my selection.
Hid
I
behind all that dead grass.
I think Red Dawn, a remake of Red Dawn into like a streaming series would be awesome. But you got to make it like 80s style. Make it like a return to the jingoistic Cold War style 80s. This movie was so wonderfully Cold War-ish.
It was.
Came out around the same time as Rocky IV. It's just perfect. It's perfect in so many ways.
It has a cult following.
Oh yeah, I love this movie. When I see this movie on, I can't stop watching it.
So my top two movies both have cult followings.
Okay.
Oh,
that I'm going with, but
yeah. That's basically it. I just love this movie. I love everything about it. There's a weird line at the end, but I forgive it. But like there's the part at the end. So the whole climactic scene is Jed, the brothers go back to the dad's already dead. He's been killed. Mm-hmm. And they go back to the town to basically just do a kamikaze run, blow some stuff up. And it's like a suicide mission.
As one does.
And when they tell the other two, there's two younger kids, teenagers with them. And they say, you guys got to run for the free zone. It's too late for us. We're all used up. And I'm like, what? You're like 20 and 22 respectively. What are you talking about? All used up? No, you don't. Just, it's right there. Like, Rick, But the movie ends with the two young ones like looking out over the end of the mountains into the plains of Kansas, assumedly.
Clearly, they did not know that Charlie Sheen runs on tiger's blood.
Yeah, I'm here for it. Justin,
man.
what do you got?
Okay, so I decided to go a route that I thought neither of you would go.
Okay.
Okay. Just for an added little excitement here, I went with a rom-com.
Oh, whoa. Okay. Yeah,
All right.
I wasn't going to touch that.
Well,
okay.
Look, my eyebrows just went up.
Yeah. Okay. Probably about the only rom-com that I really ever got into or would watch, multiple times. It's a little movie called Fever Pitch. Have you guys seen?
Oh, okay.
All right.
2005. Say in case anyone hasn't seen it. When Ben Reitman, Jimmy Fallon, who is a young teacher, begins dating a pretty businesswoman, Lindsay Meeks, Drew Barrymore. So classic duo here, Jimmy Fallon, Drew Barrymore. The two don't seem to have a lot of the same interests, but they fall in love regardless. Their romance goes well until baseball season begins, and Lindsay soon realizes that Ben is completely obsessed with the Boston Red Sox. Though she tries to understand Ben's passionate team loyalty, eventually it threatens to end their otherwise happy relationship. Now, it's
flesh out your idea, because I have thoughts, but I want to hear your idea.
So here's the deal. This movie spans the championship year of the Boston Red Sox when they just lost, and they finally made it all the way to the World Series, and they win the World Series. They even actually filmed on the field during the World Series for this movie. And I totally see, because you get this sense that he's not just a fanatic, he's literally obsessed and can let nothing else into his life. Having a season of baseball, which is how many games?
162.
You could 100% turn this thing into a series that spans the season and the trials here and there, the things that are going on with the relationship and everything, and ends beautifully with a world championship win. It's pretty incredible. I actually like this movie. This is one of my faves. It's a good movie, and I don't know. I just thought of that, and I was like,
yeah,
dude, you could easily stretch
that.
it.
Yeah, Cody, thoughts. Yeah,
I agree that if you go through the course of a season and prior to the season building up the relationship, and then baseball season starts, and then the struggles of being a Red Sox fan for 162 games.
Oh, it starts off with any true baseball fans got to start in the spring training.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
we're now watching games in Arizona.
Hardcore baseball fans pay notoriously way too much attention to spring training games.
Yes. And this guy's coming up through the farm system.
I like the way you think, Justin.
Because I thought it would be unique.
As I was thinking about, and this will lead into my next one too, but we'll let Cody go. But I do want to say I was thinking about shows that could capitalize on the Ted Lasso feeling.
Oh, okay.
Where the sports season is in the background, but a part of the story. And I think what you're suggesting would be perfect.
Yeah.
Like a Fever Pitch. It could be like Ted Lasso style dramedy sitcom.
Yeah.
Dude, yes. Why haven't someone from Hollywood hired us already?
You guys are missing out.
Perfect idea.
This is the resume.
I was thinking along the same lines, but we get to my pick after Cody's pick.
To be a little bit selfish, something that may never work but would be kind of fun. The aftermath of Shawshank Redemption, just life on Say Wataneo. I mean
that would be so boring.
It's just going to be two guys rubbing a boat with sandpaper
with hardcore PTSD.
Yes,
so many mental issues. Oh man.
Okay.
Yeah. What's your pick, Cody?
So,
let's refresh everyone. We're talking about one-shot movies that would make great streaming series.
Okay, so this movie, although there is technically a sequel, no one saw it. You wouldn't know there was a sequel. Donnie Darko.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so I went off the res.
Okay, yeah, this is deep.
Okay,
That is
so
very
But this is
cold
hardcore geek cred stuff right here.
okay, so for those who are not in the know, Donnie Darko stars a one Jake Gyllenhaal and his real life sister Maggie Gyllenhaal as his sister. Drew Barrymore's in it. Patrick Swayze's even in it.
This movie's so
Seth
weird.
Rogen's in it.
So weird.
And Jerry Trainer, the guy from iCarly, is also in it. So there's a lot of people that are in this movie.
Quite a cast.
Quite a cast. And during the presidential election of 1988, a teenager named Donnie Darko sleepwalks out of his house one night and sees a giant, demonic-looking rabbit named Frank, who tells him the world will end in 28 days. When Donnie returns home, he finds that a jet engine has crashed into his bedroom. Is Donnie living in a parallel universe? Is he suffering from mental illness, or will the world really end? I think it is a perfect plot for a limited series.
Does the series play it the same way the movie does? Just super weird.
It has to.
Okay.
And I really think that, yeah, limited series.
Well, because I think there's a scenario where someone goes, let's make this the new Lost.
I could see that too.
And that would be garbage.
It
Hot
would.
garbage.
Or it could take a twist like WandaVision, where it feels like it's coming together, but you're not quite sure how.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you got to play it just like the movie does. And like, since it's over a month span that leads up to Halloween, you have like an 8-episode arc, and that's it. Like, everything has to resolve within those 8 episodes.
So it's one and done.
It's a one and done.
Okay.
It
So-
feels like how seasons go these days.
I
Especially
mean,
the
like
first.
Midnight Mass,
Yep.
it would be in that same vein of, okay, there's a twist at the end, bam, and you got what you got. Which I'm not going to spoil it if you had not seen Donnie Darko.
I'm
It's a good
intrigued.
movie.
I'm intrigued by that idea. I'm for it. But oh man, I'm so unprepared to even speak about it because that's one you have to think on for a while.
Yeah.
That movie is so kind of bonkers.
Oh,
And it's been so long since I've seen it.
so like I asked my wife if we could watch it on Halloween, and she said no, because I'm in the vein of, if Die Hard is a Christmas movie, Donnie Darko's a Halloween movie.
Yeah, and she wouldn't let that happen. This is going to be news to all you pop culture pastor listeners. But Cody's wife makes him watch all those terrible, cheesy, small budget horror films.
Yes,
Like anything you wouldn't recognize on a streaming network. She's been making you watch all those.
all those.
And then she put it on social media that she did that on purpose just to torture you.
yes.
I am not a horror. movie fan.
And I've
Oh, his
In
wife's
any-
huge,
in any way.
huge horror movie
like
fan.
I've seen all the Freddys, the Michaels, the Jasons. I mean, I've seen all of those because of being married to
can't.
Leah. So
Can't.
thank you, my beautiful wife.
I'm for that idea. But man, I'm going to need to think on it.
You're right though. That's extreme cult following.
Yeah. So that's where my mind first went to.
My next pick for movie to be remade into a streaming series was the same way Justin was thinking. I thought, man, let's capitalize on Ted Lasso. Let's find another sport that what's going on in the season can play in the background, where we can tell human stories with the players and the people in the organization. And I'm going with the 1989 movie Major League,
Oh yeah.
where the new owner of the Cleveland Indians, former showgirl Rachel Phelps, has a sweetheart deal to move the team to Miami, but to break the lease with the city of Cleveland, ticket sales had to plummet. So Phelps hires the most incompetent players available. You'll recognize a lot of similarities to Ted Lasso.
Already.
Yeah. Including near blind pitcher Ricky Vaughn, injury prone catcher Jake Taylor, but her villainous tactics accidentally foster a can-do team spirit, turning the Indians into potential winners. I mean, this is the basic framework of Ted Lasso in a lot of ways. And so, to me, this one would be a no-brainer. Everyone would know what you're doing, but you could still make it really good. And you wouldn't even have to use the same characters. In fact, it probably doesn't even work to use the Cleveland Indians anymore because they've been good long enough here and there. I don't even know what frame. Maybe the Seattle Mariners would be a better work now because they've been they've had it tough for the longest amount of time. The Royals can't be the Royals because they won a World Series in 2015. So it hasn't been long enough. It has to be like a fan base in despair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think Major League would make a great series a la Ted Lasso, where you're following human stories with the players and the team owner and the manager and all these people that could be involved in this story. Very, very similar to Ted Lasso.
You could get the Blue Jays.
Oh, the Blue Jays. Yeah, that'd be good. You'd give it something different too. I think that's
Canadian player.
Listen, I think that's what kind of works about Ted Lasso is for Americans, it has this like kind of charm about it because we don't really know. Most Americans aren't really in the know about soccer or what the rest of the world calls football. Yeah. So,
and like the British humor that comes across through it. And not a lot of Americans watch British TV shows unless you're like a Doctor Who fan.
A lot of the humor is played for Americans in that show. So like, we laugh along as the Mexican player Danny Rojas acts weird and gets the yips and because he killed a mascot dog and, with a penalty kick. And, it's just good stuff. So
football is life.
Major League is my pick. Mark it, dude. Justin, do you have another one?
There was one that I kind of thought about. It's a little bit of a series, but at the same time, it stands alone. Like its movies stand alone. It's not necessarily something that just flows from the last one. So it's not really like a trilogy or anything like that. But my favorite movies of all time are Mission Impossible. Like that.
Really?
That series. That series as a whole. Admittedly, I'm shamefaced. I am a rather big Tom Cruise fan in those movies. Yes.
And that was the last time Justin appeared on the podcast.
That's right. I honestly think you could go like the terrorist route, that kind of thing, and you could make a series, somewhat similar to what they had going with, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and just
or how about what's the Tom Clancy one?
Is it Jack Reacher?
No. It's the one with Jim from The Office.
Yeah,
what's the name of that?
Now you're going to make me look.
I'm thinking it's it's the same character Alec Baldwin played and Harrison Ford played in the old movies. What's his name? I can't believe we can't think of his name.
I know that.
Yeah, you guys are awful. Jack Ryan.
Ryan. Yes.
What a
that would be
bland name.
Of course. You are aware, of course, Mission Impossible used to be a TV show.
Correct. Yes. Okay. Yes. No. Yeah, I'm totally aware. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like I've always been really intrigued with, like the smashing gum together for a bomb or like the masks with the voice changing and like, just things like that. It's almost like a bit of a more serious Get Smart in a way. It's it just feels like as long as you had a solid like terrorist situation or something like that, it could play out very well and get stretched into a series.
And like listen, for Hollywood purposes, those are can't misses.
Yeah.
Those attract viewers.
They're almost
like,
gimmies.
look, you got 24, you've got there's tons of TV shows that go down that avenue, and they're all popular. People dig that stuff. So I think that would work. And Mission Impossible goes from TV show to movies back to TV show.
Yeah. It could work.
I'm here for it.
There's a lot of movies.
You ain't getting Tom Cruise though.
No, you're not. That have gone the way of TV series. Like Westworld was originally a movie.
Yeah.
And
I would say it should have worked better as a TV show, but that was kind of a bonkers show too.
First two seasons.
It's a little too bonkers.
Let's see. Teen Wolf also does that. Teen Wolf series is awful. Don't watch it. And then
no problem. Didn't bother.
What We Do in the Shadows was also a movie first that they have made into a TV series on FX.
I've never watched that.
Taika
Waititi
was in the movie and he created the show.
Oh,
so
okay. All right.
Spoilers.
It's a good pick. It's a good pick overall, Justin. I don't think it's as good as your first pick.
Yeah, I like the first. I like the first.
But hey, that's just like at the Hollywood. If we're in the Hollywood meeting room, and you pitch that idea,
Just might sell.
that's a safe pitch.
Yeah.
Just
That is a
myself.
fastball. Okay. That's
I like
a safe
it.
pitch. Do you got another one, Cody?
I do. Another cult
Got a whole
following.
list.
And so this one could be a longer series.
Okay.
This one is called 1988's The Big Lebowski. Mark it, dude. You said it earlier, and I was like, I hope he's not going to say this. Okay, so Big Lebowski, starring Jeff Bridges, John Goodman, Steve Buscemi, Julianne Moore, John Turturro, Tara Reid. Rest in peace, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah.
But
White chocolate.
this is about a man named Jeff the Dude Lebowski, who is mistaken for Jeffrey Lebowski, who is the Big Lebowski, which explains why he's roughed up and has his precious rug peed on in search of recompensation. The dude tracks down his namesake, who offers him a job. His wife has been kidnapped and needs a reliable bagman, aided and hindered by his pals Walter, a Vietnam vet, and Donnie, master of stupidity. That's
As a pastor, I cannot recommend this movie to anybody. On a personal level, we'll talk.
we will.
Oh, it's such a great movie.
So there's
I'm going to tell you, before you even get into this, the only thing I could think of as you were saying that this was your pick to turn into a series, the only thing I could think of was Marcus, the character of Marcus Brody from Indiana Jones Last Crusade. And his quote, "You're meddling with powers you cannot possibly comprehend." Like, you are on dangerous ground, my friend. This is beloved
it is.
cult followed stuff here.
So where Justin was pitching a fastball,
Is this a sequel? This can't be a remake. You cannot have anyone but Jim Goodman,
John Goodman
playing Walter Sobchak. You cannot have anyone but Jeff Bridges playing the dude.
I'm keeping the cast, but I need Donnie to be alive for at least a season. So I need Steve Buscemi not to die yet.
Okay.
So
he could come back in any way. They could have taken him to the hospital, said it was a mix up. They said he died, but he was really alive.
And so
Steve Buscemi barely looks alive.
But this has to this has to take place like 20 years later.
it does.
Because you can't mess with the actors. Like, it's got to be the same people.
So like this needed to happen like 20 years ago, but it would have been perfect because like these characters deserve to have their own like sub stories happening. I need to know more about Walter, about not rolling on Shabbos.
Listen, I'm here for this. Big Lebowski is one of the weirdest pop culture phenomenons I think ever. In that, even the Coen brothers who made the movie, like, they did not think when they were done with this movie. I'm pretty sure they didn't think they just knocked one out of the park.
Yeah,
Like,
it is so quotable.
This was a movie that everybody was ready to forget about. The problem was nobody that saw it. Like, I remember seeing this at Liberty Hall in Lawrence, Kansas, which was like the artsy theater.
Yeah,
They showed all the independent movies. No expectations. I had no idea what the movie was about. Had no expectations. And I laughed so much. But here's the thing about Big Lebowski. Every repeat viewing, I found something I missed all the previous times I'd watched it and laughed even more.
exactly.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely stinking a brilliant comedy movie where they curse probably a little too much for my Christian brothers and sisters.
And then you bring in Sam Elliott, who's like, I don't know why you gotta curse so much, dude.
Yeah, I mean, and they're all still alive. You could make this show right now with Sam Elliott.
Yeah.
I mean, so Sam Elliott's character actually made it into the TV series Fargo. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I haven't watched the TV series Fargo. It's on my to watch list.
Yeah, so Fargo is a great series based on Coen Brothers material. And there's this weird, trippy, like dream sequence almost type of scene where someone walks into a bowling alley in North Dakota or something. And that guy's there. Sam Elliott's bowling character is there. And it's just bonkers. Yeah. Okay.
The Stranger.
I'm
That's
for
what he's known as.
that movie. You got any good sarsaparilla? There's dirt clouds on the horizon. Beef. That's what's for dinner. Okay. I'm for that with some very specific caveats.
I mean,
Don't you dare remake it with different actors.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Can't do it.
I'm just saying, like, it would be a phenomenal series, but yet it has the most potential for disaster.
They ever remake or reboot that, we riot.
We do.
Period.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot riding on that one. Expensive actors. Lots of
We
area to wreck
need
people.
Apple money for that.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any more that we can speed round through?
The only other one that I had was I think it'd be kind of fun to have a spin-off series, Nacho Libre.
Okay, Nacho would be
okay.
good.
Yeah, I'm ready for that.
Okay, I'm going to go with a random bonkers off the wall one. Mean Girls.
Same girls? Are we following them as adults or no? Just new reboot.
I think that you could have a couple of the girls as parents and follow their kids.
Okay,
their kids.
the
Yeah,
weird
that's
thing
kinda-
about this is like it wouldn't fly now.
It wouldn't, but yet
Everybody be like anti-bullying. We'd be canceling their families.
But literally, high schools are quite a bit like this still.
That could almost
Are
be
they?
They are. I work in them.
I feel like the theme could almost be anti-bullying. Like the whole scene.
Like the school could have an anti-bullying theme, and yet there still is backstabbing and heartbreaking and bus crashing action that can happen.
The movie Mean Girls is basically just the teenage version of Desperate Housewives. Prove me wrong.
I can't.
Or Cougar Town.
I wouldn't know. I didn't watch that one.
I'm just
Something
going
about seeing Courtney Cox's very Botoxed face just makes that sad.
I'm just going off what Abed said in Community.
Okay.
So
All right. Any more?
that
Any more
was it.
suggestions? All right. I'm gonna wrap this up with my last pick.
Okay.
And this one, listen, I'm going in full disclosure. This one's emotional for me.
Oh.
Okay. And I know it's probably not the best pick given some of the other streaming material that's out there that would be awfully close to this kind of material.
I feel like I know where you're going.
I'm going to go. Well, hold on. I need to get the year right and everything because, man,
Is
I'm
it
not
going
short shifting it.
where I
The
think it's going?
1985 film
Yes.
Goonies.
I knew it.
Oh, yes.
I knew it.
Steven Spielberg, Richard Donner, old-fashioned yarn about a band of adventurous kids who take on the might of a property developing company which plans to destroy their home to build a country club. When the children discover an old pirate map in the attic, they follow it in an underground cavern in search of lost treasure, but come up against plenty of dangerous obstacles on the way. This movie made $124 million back in 1985, which is a lot.
In
That is.
85?
Yeah, that's a lot of money back in 1985.
Do you have the octopus in the series?
Yes, absolutely. Because if it's a series, you have more time.
Sweet.
Here's the thing. I would totally for years, the real big fans of Goonies held out hope for a sequel. They're all old now, and they still talk about it sometimes. Like we could do a sequel where the older ones are in it still, but then it would be their kids. Right?
Yeah.
I moved on from that.
Okay.
Here's what I want. Reboot it. Present day Astoria, Oregon. Update the story so it works in present day. Like, well, they're underground, so their cell phones don't work. Blah, blah, blah. Still works.
Yeah.
I think with all new kids, you could even make them new characters. You wouldn't even have to use mouth data. In fact, you probably shouldn't use data. I know he's beloved. Ki Huy Kwan, beloved actor who is also in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
But we can't be having Asians walking around, Asian kids going, "No time for love, Dr. Jones." Like you just come on.
No one's gonna go.
We
for
can't. Our
it. Even
culture,
though your heart longs.
our
for
culture
it.
now cannot handle that.
No,
Yeah.
it can't.
We love Ki Huy Kwan though,
We
Yes.
do.
and
He
and
is
we miss
welcome
him.
on the show.
Oh, dude, if we could get Ki Huy Kwan on the show, oh man, that would be so wonderful. Anyways, yeah, you probably can't do, but you should. Here's what I would say is have an Asian American kid as one of the characters, but
Yeah.
make him a racist caricature.
Yes, please don't.
Listen, woke people, young people understand that we didn't think like the way you guys thought in the 80s.
Yeah.
And nobody did it. Listen, obviously Steven Spielberg and Richard Donner weren't sitting around going, how can we make the most racist character ever? I mean, Steven Spielberg's Jewish. He's not trying to anyways. We understand now it was probably not a great character, but we loved him anyways.
He was great. Comedic moments and heartfelt moments with that character.
Yeah. So my point is you could make them completely different characters, but remake the same story. Now here's the problem. The problem is it's Stranger Things in so many ways. Now Stranger Things actually makes it more dynamic because it's combining 80s horror elements
and
sci-fi. Yeah.
So I nearly suggested making Super 8 into a TV series, but they already did that with Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
Here's the way I think you can make Goonies interesting. The first season of the streaming series for Goonies, you tell the same story the movie told, but you stretch it out. You make it a much longer, story over multiple days even. So the movie happens over the course of basically one 24-hour period. But this one you stretch it out and it ends with them finding One-Eyed Willie's rich stuff. the Fratellis go away. And then the second season you do a brand new adventure. And my thinking is like it would be Temple of Doom style darker. Like it would be some sort of darker venture. And then the third season, you come back with some resurgence of the One-Eyed Willie story. Now, someone who's smarter than I am, who's a writer, would have to be the one to do that. But that's my idea. That's my idea for Goonies.
Because I feel like that's, with the Stranger Things, and series like that going on right now, I would even say like with this new like Ghostbusters movie that's coming out, like I feel like that's something people are kind of craving.
Yeah.
And I feel like it would work.
Well, and essentially they're doing that with Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Right.
It's technically a sequel, but it almost feels like a reboot because they're giving you brand new characters who just happen to be related to the older characters. And then some of the older people are going to be in it. Now, since this takes place in Astoria, Oregon, you could have cameos.
You could.
But it won't work for them to be the same characters because you're going to reboot it. I think you should reboot it.
I'm okay with the soft reboot where you have like maybe Mikey growing up with a kid that moves back home, like in the second season.
Well, there's an untold story at the end of Goonies, by the way, because that boat just starts floating out into the Pacific.
It does.
As if everyone and their mom wasn't going to hop in their boats to go chase that thing down.
Yeah.
Like there's a real story that plays out there where the American government is all over it.
And that treasure is probably wherever the Ark of the Covenant is.
Wait a minute. I got a performance. This is an impromptu performance. We're out here at Pirates Cove where we appear to be looking at a pirate ship. You like that?
Yes. That was actually spot on for
Was it?
For the newscaster at the end.
Love Chunk. Listen, every time I stayed home sick from school, which was lots, I watched Goonies every time.
Your impersonation makes me wonder, is that the same guy that voices the DNA in Jurassic Park?
Sloth?
No, the newscaster.
Oh, no, I'm sure that newscaster, whoever played that guy was probably dead by the time Jurassic Park got filmed.
Jurassic Park was filmed in like 93. It's not that far from the 80s.
I remember when they found those fossils.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. It's not like that dude who played the newscaster at the end of Goonies was rocking it. Come on, man. It was just some random.
I'm just saying it's some random voice, but everyone loves the way that the DNA strand says dinosaur.
Okay. Name one actor in that movie who's not one of the kids.
I got nothing.
Yeah, you can't do it.
The lady that was in Throw Mama from Train.
Okay, what was her name?
Exactly. And Sloth was a football player. I know that.
And his name was?
Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue.
is John Matusak. But whatever.
This
Yes.
feels fruitless. Like,
Yeah, this episode should have ended a long time ago. We should have ended this episode.
Sorry, people. That's on me.
All right, we'll get out of here. Thank you for listening to Pop Culture Pastor. We're sorry this one's a little long again. We went an hour and a half, but
when you get talking, you get talking.
good times. We'll see you next week. We're going to go see Eternals. And Justin, John, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks
Yes,
for having me,
thank you.
guys.
Hanging out. Next week, we're
Good
going to
times.
have Jason Gieseman.
Oh,
we're
sweet.
going to go see Eternals, and then we're going to get on here and record right after.
Oh,
So it's going to be fresh.
immediate.
First impulse, first reactions.
No kidding. No time. Just first thing.
Yeah. So that'll be next week's podcast. Make sure and look for it on everywhere you get your podcast. Google, Apple,
Spotify.
Anchor. Some people go on Anchor. Not many, but some people. Got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Have a great week, everybody.